you two and Christian and Lynn know more about this than I'll ever know. How do we address a situation that Ms. Bruning had, like on election day and election night? Is that procedural that we take care of? When you're taking care of the votes and you're taking care of locking things up and you're taking care of transporting them, and that's something we can review, or you go over when you have your meetings with the election judges, what?
Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff when we have our meetings, like, because a lot of times between elections, they forget, and on the steps of things, and we have reminders in there. They have judges handbooks, they have early voting ballot board handbooks, and a lot of that stuff is written out in there as well.
Judge,
You bet.
those handbooks are like 80 pages long.
Are they?
They are.
So it would, as another procedural thing, perhaps a cheat sheet
There
for
you go.
things that we see happen. Because
One-on-one.
if you hand me 80 pages, I'm not going to read every single page, and if I do, I'm not going to know what happened.
So if you hand me this, I can figure it out. Okay.
Absolutely.
So how do we all work together to make, oh, I'm sorry, Chip, go ahead.
Just a point of clarification. So, the FOIA requests that we've been receiving, have been destroyed, discarded? I mean, what exactly happened there? And, is the same thing happening electronically? So if someone sends in a FOIA request electronically, are those also being expunged?
Chris, you'd have to answer that because on your end, mine are never, but I don't know about yours.
They have been.
Electronically and?
All
Because,
that-
I mean, if I respond to them, I delete them, so I know that they've been taken care of
Yes, Chip.
and replied to.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem.
But also, as far as like the timeliness of it, I had a major family emergency, which I was out quite a bit, and I did tell him
Right.
I was out.
So Trey, if we start a folder and she saves everything electronically in that folder, and then she starts another folder to save everything that is actual tangible, then what's your take on that? Don't delete anything from this day forward.
Yeah, or at least just print it and put it in an open records file in the file cabinet somewhere, so
Okay.
it's there.
So at least we have a
But
record
at least
somewhere.
there's a record of, yeah, I mean, and I don't think it necessarily matters whether it's electronically saved or hard copy saved, as long as, I would say, save it.
Yes, Deb.
I just wanted to mention at least 2 times that I can think of, and it's not just been me. People here have been able to go and do a open records request to ask for all open requests by whoever, regardless. And so whoever has done that, like the school, for example, must have records of who has asked for whatever, and it's been able to fulfill that type of request. So I'm with keeping them so that you could see that they actually occurred.
You
And
bet.
additionally, part of that is, Christy may not always be here, something could happen to her tomorrow. And with her goes that institutional knowledge that we no longer have if we're deleting all of those requests. We
That's
have no
true.
idea.
That's true.
And I think probably, like you were saying earlier, Julia, why don't we just make the retention policy across the board for the whole county, whether it's elections or where else? Michelle, the guidelines that you guys have set up. I mean, nothing keeps us from being able to do that.
That's right. Go ahead, Chip.
Well, I'm curious because, I also, time is precious, right? And I don't want to waste my time either. So I'm curious to know what other types of records are being expunged from the elections office. And is it just FOIA requests or other things being inadvertently expunged from that office?
Christian.
I don't specifically know, like, we have listserv emails, and there's one day on one question, I could have 20 emails pertaining to that. I delete stuff like that, especially if it pertains to larger counties and not us. Or if it pertains to another county having a different type of equipment, I delete that. So, I mean, stuff like
Chip, you
that.
already know this. What she's talking about, each one of us have a listserv, and all 254 counties chime in. Well, like on mine, there's so many judges that, address so many things that does not pertain to Somervell County. So on things like that, if it doesn't pertain, I delete those also. Now, I've got a folder of TAC and listserv information that if they have something that pertains to Somervell County, I save those. But yeah, listserv is so Well, you know, go to how many each of you get every day. That pertains to 254 counties. I'm sorry, Tim, I guess I'm gonna say.
No, yeah, that's fine. Well, again, a suggestion that we don't erase emails in the county. Just have a folder they go to. It's simple. I mean, you know, it's not gonna take up that much hard drive space. But I don't think it's a great idea to get in the habit of expunging records as a municipality. All those records are discoverable. And to continue to do that, you're gonna have problems. Because what if you inadvertently erase something that shouldn't be erased? It could easily happen. So, you know, so it's just a bad habit to expunge records in this situation. And again, I would say that should go departmental wide. You know, everyone, I think, should adhere to that.
Go ahead, Judy.
Okay, so this is just clarifying for what Chip said. I'm assuming that you mean don't delete any documents that pertain specifically to Somervell County, because what they're talking about are these mass statewide emails that come out. So
Right.
you're just talking about the Somervell County
Correct.
related documents.
Correct.
But like if I email you or Bob or whatever, I have an election folder in my emails that I move all that stuff over to, and it contains like emails from y'all, it contains emails from Secretary of State, it contains notices, it contains order, I mean, it just, that kind of stuff, yeah, I keep, I have a folder for it. But like when Secretary of State sends an email about a web training that's already passed, then I'm gonna delete that, because
Well, but we're not
It's
taking
stored
open
somewhere
records
else.
requests for things that come from the Secretary of State regarding trainings.
No.
yeah.
This is talking about record retention for purposes relating specifically to Somerville County, because
Wow.
nobody's gonna submit an open records request asking for all the emails you got from the Secretary of State regarding training. Nobody's gonna do that.
Oh,
Well, and plus they have it on their website,
And
where
they
you
have
can
it.
go back and look at all those, so I
right.
don't keep them.
Yes, Tim?
Well, once again, so, you know, not having a procedure and allowing employees to expunge what they feel like they should and shouldn't have, it's just a bad idea. Because, you know, this, you know, in this particular case, Ms. Covey doesn't feel like she should keep FOIA requests.
But I believe from this day
So-
forward you will, correct?
Yeah, I've already.
But someone else might not believe that they should keep some other type of documentation. And on and on and on, depending on the person. So that shouldn't be a judgment call. Retain your records. It's your department. Retain your records. Don't inadvertently, for whatever reason, say, well, I don't think I'll ever need these in the future. Well, that's not your call. This is public record, period.
So we should, as part of the policies and procedures, include this is what you need. So there is no
Yes.
question.
Yes. Black and white.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're gonna use what leads to these kind of meetings.
These are this right here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's a smarter, sorry, budgeting in here, a smarter policy to retain the open records request, but technically if you get in there and you read the Public Information Act, somebody sending us an open records request is not a document or information that was generated by the county. It was generated by whoever sent the request. So I mean, technically, I don't think Christie is probably legally responsible for keeping an outside request for information. I think it's a better policy to probably keep those.
Yes.
But, you know, the Information Act is to cover government documents, right? And somebody sending an outside email to someone I don't think necessarily is, especially just requesting something, it's not a document that was created by the county for the county for any reason, if that makes sense. But I think it's a better, moving forward, I think it's a much better policy to keep those in keep those documented somewhere.
Yes.
But the law should be our baseline, it shouldn't be our policy.
Exactly, and that's why I think
Better than
it's,
that, we
should.
Bare minimal.
Right.
Well, anything else from anybody as far as issues pertaining to this election? Sorry, Redonna, you came in a different meeting. Yours starts at 9:30.
I'm sorry, do I need to step out?
No, this is open to the public.
I'd rather
Anybody-
be early than late.
Anybody's welcome to play, yeah, no,
I have a question.
you bet.
Christy, Tanya, Julia, Bob, do y'all feel like the election for workers are trained adequately enough?
Can I answer?
Yeah.
Because I heard from the election judges, no. And I think that's something as a county we really need to exemplify. Now, I can't speak for Bob, I can speak for the Republican Party side of it. That was a chief complaint that I got from several of the workers. And, you know, I'm not saying anything that Christie is doing wrong or anything that we are doing wrong.
Right.
I think collectively, we could probably work to bring about some training that would really exemplify and cause our election judges and alternates to perform at peak and optimal experience, even if they're brand new. Christy works with them to make sure they understand how the equipment works and this, that, and the other. And per SOS, she just has to make available the online training. Okay, well, I think we're being very disservice to the election in a whole because we don't know if any of these people ever took it. We have no idea because there's no check and balance.
There's a certificate at the end of training that they turn in.
But they
To
don't
who do
have-
they turn it
don't
into,
have to
Christy?
have that certificate in order to be qualified according to the SOS. the
They-
election.
They've always turned it into me. If they tell me, oh, I can't make it, I'll do the online, and they usually turn it into me.
Okay, and I'm not trying to be difficult or anything here, but I'm just gonna ask you, do you have Tasha's? Do you have Tamara's? Do you have Terry's? Do you have mine? And I'm not an election judge or alternate. But did you receive any of those?
I'll have to go back and look off the top of my head. I can't answer that question.
Well, they're both here. Did y'all turn them into Christy? You turned yours into Christy?
Yes, I did.
And you?
I took the in-person training, so I didn't have to turn one in. But I did take the training because I did feel like it was not adequate training at the in-person one. So I took the online one. Honestly, I went in just to take it without doing the lessons, thinking, you know, I can do this for the training, and I failed it. So I had to go in and take the course to adequately learn what a new judge needed to learn.
I just think we have some issues that could be easily solved if we collectively worked together and created a policy or procedure that our county expectations, you know, just you guys know as well as I know, if we tell somebody, hey, here's the website, go take the training, and we don't follow up, what are the likelihood that they're going to sit down, because it's about an hour and 15-20 minute training, that they're going to do that? What is the likelihood? It's very slim. I mean, I'm going to sit down and do it just because I'm kind of anal in that way. But a lot of people are not. And then if we don't have a check and balance where we require that we receive this prior to election day, and then we are ensuring that it's all done, you know, I know that we are working in our bylaws that in order for us to even consider you to be a judge or an alternate, we're going to require you turn the certificate into us before we submit. We're also going to hold some election training because it's valuable. The laws change every time we have legislative sessions going on down there. And and it's not that it's anybody's, not one person's fault, because our guidelines or our state resource for that is very wide open ranges. I mean, we could shoot holes in it all day long because they've left it that way, unfortunately. You know, and I think it's something that we really need to address, because I did have 3 or 4 of them tell me, this has nothing to do with what our training had to do with. This, if I hadn't gone online, I wouldn't have known this. If I didn't, you know, I just didn't know any better. Thank God I took the online training. But we can't guarantee that that's going to happen unless we force them to provide us something that assures us they've done that. So I think policies and procedures based on the law, but giving and providing Somervell County a larger protection and shield against anyone coming in and being able to question our integrity with our elections is something that has got to happen. Now, can we do it between here and November? I do not know. But we can certainly make sure it happens before we come around to the next election. And we can also work collectively, because it's going to be just as valuable for Christy to be a part of this process as it is for these people to be a part of this process. You know, and we need to have the judges in and find out what their questions and concerns are and address those in policies and procedures. That way, when we come to the next election, if they call Julia, if they call Mr. Bob up there, or they call me, or they call y'all, or they call Christy, we all have the same answer. We all have the same policy to refer to and satisfy and get, you know, better results instead of all the mess that we had this time. I know y'all understand what I'm saying.
So,
I'm country,
yes,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead,
Excuse me. Jerry Norris is sitting here in front of us. She's our chief judge for the Democratic Party.
Right.
Could we ask her opinion of this?
You bet, Jerry.
Did you have any complaints or problems?
No, the people that had not attended the meeting, I know for a fact, did take the course because we followed through with them. And I think that's either Bob's or my responsibility to make sure they take the test and that they understand it and they pass it. We had one person that was an emergency fill-in, but had been very experienced in the election process that didn't have time to actually take this year's test, but had taken them in previous years. I think that it's important that everybody be on the same page. I think that it's listening to what's going on here. It's important that we probably require the people we ask to become election workers, or in our case, judges or alternative judges, to take the test. And it probably would be a good idea to take the test and get recertified every election year.
Okay.
So, for my point of view, that's what I'm going to ask of the people that I expect to work the elections. So, the other thing that's going on, the conflict, is kind of disconcerting. I did not perceive any real conflict or problems during the election. It ran pretty smoothly. Everyone seemed to know exactly what to do in the situations. And the two of us that were the head election judges, we had our handle on looking at situations that had questions. And everyone was directed to us if they could not answer a question. But we also kept our eyes on what was going on and jumped in. So for our county, which is small, I think it was handled properly. More education is never, ever a bad idea. But I did not receive a bunch of questions or complaints about what happened during this past election at all. There was one particular thing that came up, and it came up out of the training. One of the judges that I had to take the training because she did not attend class, and it had to do with the signature on the ballot, each ballot for, and since we worked together, we only had one, it started out with one signature. However, in the past, And ever since I've been doing this, starting in 2020, all I've ever noticed were initials on the back of the ballots. When the ballots are opened for security reasons, an election judge needs to sign them. They've always been initialed. In this particular case, one of our people had taken the test and it specifically said signature. So she brought it to our attention that it was a discrepancy in what we were doing, what we knew to do, versus the test. So then we immediately stopped, we signed everything from that point on with a full signature and went on. As it turned out, and we will go forward. We will go forward with signing full because we know that and it was brought to our attention. So there's a value in taking the test. There are people that we work with in the elections that are knowledgeable and bring it to our attention. And there was no any kind of evidence of anything that was done incorrectly because of lack of knowledge.
How's everybody?
Thank you, Jerry. Can y'all advise me, because we've been over a lot of things that Chrissy's gonna have to take, Evelyn and Chrissy gonna take into consideration as far as procedural efforts and rivers. Do y'all want to come back after the May runoff in June or July and meet again to see how that went? Or do you want to wait till the general election and meet in December or January and review where we're at and see how that went? What do y'all think? Y'all tell me, because we can call a meeting in June or July, we can call a meeting in December or January. It's strictly up to y'all.
Well, runoff election's only one place locally.
Right.
So I don't know that we would, because there's not as many moving parts, I don't know that we would go into this.
Hopefully you get it right.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but
No,
typically, the more moving parts, the more chances to see the failures in the system.
In November could be easily, yeah. So maybe we come back in December or January and review where we're at
Yeah, that seems like that would make more sense.
and
because
see how
it's a
smooth
full
it went
election.
or didn't go, and then we can go from there. Are y'all in agreement with that? Because now that we know several issues that we need to work our way through, we either clean it up, and if it didn't get cleaned up, then we go from there. Is that fair?
And I do just want to make one last comment. Anytime that anybody has a request for records, feel free to email me because I will stay on top of those, especially on the 10-day time frame. And I am the records management officer of the county. Even though each office does govern over their own records, and they do sign off on a form that goes to the secretary, to the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. Anyway, if you will just email me and let me know, I do not mind staying on top of that, and I will make sure it gets done.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, ma'am.
In reference to the retention, it occurred to me that each of you has to deal with so many emails. In your own computer, you should have, within the guidelines, control of your own email. But I think it's technically possible that every email that comes into Somervell County and with specific references could be held in the backup, and that ultimately there would be a record of everything that came in, nothing would be deleted, and it would be searchable. I believe that's technically possible. And then each of you would have the freedom, within the guidelines that has been established, to delete emails off. And then there wouldn't be a question pointing that maybe one of you had deleted something by accident, because there would be a full and permanent backup of everything that comes into the county. And I do believe it's technically possible. It might require a lot of room, but ultimately it might resolve or make people feel more comfortable about this.
Yeah, do you know that we have an IT director, Eddie Gossett, and I know that when things are missing, we've been able to go back to him and he can get into individual employees' emails and pull up stuff. What I don't know is how long, even with his backup system, that he can do that.
But it could be altered so that it could be a permanent, complete backup without imposing on each of you to keep everything that comes through that you feel is just confusing your own computer.
I agree with that.
Well, I apologize, but we have Commissioners Court at 9:30. So, if we know where we need to go, right, Christie, Evelina, where we need to go, what we need to do to clean up, hopefully make things better for the future.
Yes.
And we'll get back together in December, January, and we'll go over this again, see if it went smoother or difficult, whichever. So, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting if I have a second. Have a second by Bob and April. Got 2 seconds. So, all in favor to adjourn this meeting? That's 5 for, 0 against at 9:29 a.m. Thank y'all. And Michelle, if you give me a couple minutes, and I'll be back.